Hetapu, namaste, assalamu alaikum. This is Kasank Maya Keparu with another video for you. And in this video, I want to talk about, yes, I can hypnotize women. Before I do that, I'd like you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live or when I upload recorded videos. Also, if you're not already a supporter of ours on Patreon, consider doing so. You can be a supporter for as little as $1 or $20 per month. You can cancel anytime and you get exclusive access to instructional videos on the esoteric, on hypnotism, on rituals, on communicating with the ancestors. Some really, really great videos. And as always, if you're looking to get your Kemetic name, which you should, you can go to yourkemeticname.com, sign up for it, and change your destiny, change your life, get your name in the tradition of the ancestors. Welcome. Namaste. So I want to talk a little bit about a couple of things, some little experiences that I had. So what I'd like to do is kind of like give some clarification on magic and your state of being. Let's just put it that way, your state of being. How's that? You know what I mean? I think it's important because we don't have a really an adequate understanding of who we are and what our mission here on this fourth dimensional plane is. Yeah, we kind of think, well, we're humans, or we're these people who are, you know, God created us in His image or her image, or whatever, however you want to put it. But I think there's a little more depth to that, and I like to explore that, you know, and kind of give more of a well-rounded approach in terms of your relationship to the universe, your relationship to God, and what you should be doing. Not in terms of destiny, but we'll get to that. So a little bit about my background is that my brother and I were brought up, and you may have heard me say this, in a very abusive household. I just recently found out, because I always suspected that my mother was dealing with a lot of mental issues, that I also found out that my father had mental issues too. I hit the jackpot. I had both parents had mental issues. So that really translated into a lot of abuse for my brother and I, really bad abuse. Consequently, that translated into myself not knowing a lot of things about life, how to communicate, how to socialize, what love was, what dating was. So when I got an opportunity to go out into the world, I went to college, I went on campus, and I found it very hard to communicate to people because, you know, I was taught in my household that if you spoke, you would get, you know, my father would ball his fists up and punch me in the face. Very strict. You know, you had to eat a certain way at the dinner table. I couldn't, you know, just start eating. I had to have my fork positioned in the right way and go down on the food in the right way. If not, he'd hit me, and I would see him watching me, and it was very traumatizing. So when I got an opportunity to be out my own, I went out there, and I remember. Well, let me go before that period, right? Let me go way before that. I remember when I was young, very young, there had been an incident around our block where there was some type of social club, and it caught fire, and like 20 people died in the fire. I remember seeing some of it on the news when not paying much attention to it as a child, and my mother didn't really want me to watch that, you know. We happened to be, my mother and I, walking past the actual building that had the fire, and it was boarded up, and there was a lot of flowers and stuff on the outside. Now, I had no idea that that was the actual building that was on the news. So when we passed there, I felt something, and it was really powerful to the point of where I just passed out. And I didn't know what it was. My mother was freaking out. Since that time as a child, I've been very in tune to energy vibrations at certain locations. I could walk past a location and get dizzy and weak, and I would know that somebody died there. or that some type of an event happened there. And this was often. There, in fact, I would map it out. There were certain locations and places I couldn't go past because I would just pass out. It would just create problems for me. And I would have the visions and I would see what happened. I could actually like go back and see it in my mind. So after that point, going through the timeline here, what happened? There was an incident at a local pool. I was at a pool, and some idiot, I was very young, threw me in the pool. And this is the adult pool, and it was like way over my head. So I was drowning, basically. I was drowning. And what happened was kind of profound because I left my body and was able to see myself drowning very clear. And then a lifeguard jumped in and I saw that. And he grabbed me. And when he grabbed me, he pulled me out the water. I saw the whole event. And then my spirit went back into my body. I never forgot that. Never forgot that. Okay. Now, when I got to of age, let's get back to where I was before. Going out on my own, going to college. I had no social skills. Talking to women was not going to happen. I realized that I had an innate ability to hypnotize people, to put them in a trance state. Now, this was never a big thing to me because I thought everybody could do this. I didn't know that this is a really strange thing. And then I realized if I concentrated, especially with women, because women are very emotional. It's not negative, it's a positive thing. I noticed that if I really concentrate on women, I could make them fall and pass out. And that would happen often. And even when I didn't concentrate, So I didn't think anything about it, no big deal, So when the only time I became conscious of it, when I had a best friend of mine, and I was able to talk to him and confide in him, we became best friends. And he would take me out and we would go to social events. And he started seeing it, what I was doing. And he was just like, he was like in awe. And he was like, what is going on? Why have all these girls falling for you? You have no game, you have no lines. He says, what's going on? And I really couldn't explain it. I didn't know what to say. I said, I don't know, I said, maybe they like light-skinned guys, I said, I don't know, and then I started getting into the esoteric. I started getting into NLP and things of that nature. And then it clicked. It started to make sense that I was actually hypnotizing people. Well, when I became conscious of the fact of what I could do, then the ball game changed. So I had this real crazy notion, right? And I was like, I hate racism. I hate the fact that I'm confined to working only in certain jobs and I can only get paid a certain amount of money. I want to go for higher jobs. I want to be paid $150,000, $200,000 a year. So I lined up jobs that were well beyond my knowledge base. And I would go to the interviews, I would put them in the hypnotic trance state, and I would get the jobs. So I remember me walking in the first day of work. I had my nice office, sitting down there and ready to work. It had no clue as to what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't go to business school. Didn't have the background, but I knew how to put people in trance and get what I wanted to. And then from there, I went on to getting investors for my film, which was very easy. And people were like, well, you should be into sales. You would make a lot of money because you can put people into a trance state. And then a funny thing started to happen. Morality hit me. And I just started saying, I said, well, is it really right that I'm getting jobs that I'm not qualified for? You know what I mean? And the people don't know what's going on when I put them into that state. I said, I don't know about this. And then I started going for higher tier women. And I was like, I don't want this woman. I want a woman who is taller and more attractive, and I'm going to put her in trance and get her. And that would happen. And then I started getting into the whole idea of ma'at and what that means and how you need to live truth. And then I stopped. And I was getting calls from all kinds of guys who are like, hey, let's go out. And I was like, cool, I got a social circle of friends. Not realizing that they just wanted me to teach them hypnosis or how to put people into trance. Because when I would go out, they would be like, "Hey, show me how you did that thing with the woman." And and then I would be like, "Why do you want to know that?" And I realized I was being used. Yeah, I had this large social circle, but I was being used. So, and then I realized something else that was even better than all of that. Because coming from the background that I had, I suffered from SAD, seasonal affective disorder. So I got really depressed during the winter months. And I found a way to cope with that was very unusual using trance. I would go into a mall, go into a setting and approach people and put them into trance and have conversations with them and hit them with post-hypnotic suggestions. For example, I would find out something about them. Like if they had like a death in the family, then I would heal them. I would have them transcend that emotion. You know what I mean? And make them feel better. So I would do that a lot. And I had a friend, he's really good, really great guy from Canada. And he said, "Hey, I'm coming to visit you. Let's go out and I want to see." Oh, and we got into a big argument about this because he would not leave me alone. He was like, let's go to the mall. Let's go to the mall. I want to see what you do. And it got to the point where I was actually yelling at him like, "No, I don't want to do this." But I did. And I went and I showed him what I could do. And then he looked at me and he says, "You know what I think you're doing?" I said, "What?" He says, "You're using this for healing because I can see how good you feel after you do it and how good they feel after they encounter you." I said, "Yeah, wait a minute. Oh, so maybe I'm using this as a form of therapy for myself and for them," not realizing that that's what I was doing. So then I saw other implications to this. Of course, then I had all other friends who were like, "Well, you should do stage hypnosis." I said, "No, I'm not interested in stage hypnosis. I want to heal people. I want to be a hypnotherapist, you know?" And people are like, "What? You could do all this other stuff. You got to do it." And I was like, "Nah, nah, 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 nah. I don't want to do that other stuff, you know?" And they really found it amazing that I could put people in trance, especially women. And I never looked at that as a big deal. It wasn't a really big thing to me. It was just something I was just doing just to do. Now, mind you, yes, I could put the women into the trance and they would be going out with me. But here's the funny part. I didn't know what love was, what dating was, what affection was. In fact, my first girlfriend, I never kissed her for an entire year. And it really bothered her. And this is stemming from the fact that my parents never showed each other any affection and they never showed us affection. So I didn't know affection. I didn't know anything about love, affection. I was a very cold person, very cold. People would meet me and say, "You're very cold." I didn't like, really, am I? You know? So these things, I didn't understand these things. I didn't know like you're supposed to love the person you're with. I'm like, really? I thought you're just supposed to be comfortable with them. You know what I mean? So these things were just really alien to me. So I had to go to therapy to understand all of this. And then it got scary because that means you have to open yourself up emotionally. And I had one therapist I work with, and then she concluded after everything, "Oh, I know what your problem is. You're gay." I'm like, "Okay, you're not going to be my therapist anymore." So I got a therapist who was competent and who asked the right questions. She was like, "What was your family life like? What was your relationship with your brother? What was your relationship with your father?" And then she was the one that made the diagnosis that both my parents had mental illness, and this was greatly impacted me, how I treated women, how I perceived the world. Directly after that, I got into the Kemetic spirituality or religion, however you want to call it, which was right up my alley because it really made use of a lot of the things I was already using. you know and I found that I was able to quickly advance in that and really understand the principles. I got it. I was like, it's really quick. I got it. And that kind of steered my the direction of my life in a whole different way. Then there were several books that really affected me in a profound way to give me an understanding of the world. And by the way, this is going to be a short broadcast. I'm not going to stay long. And one of those books that kind of like put the pieces of the puzzle together was Libra Null and Psychonaut. And I've talked about this book many times before. In fact, I was in New York and I was reading it. And there was a guy, he's a Jewish occultist. And he saw me reading it, and he grabbed me and was like, good choice. And then he recommended another book by the same author. But what this book tells you is what I was alluding to at the beginning of the broadcast. It lets you know in no uncertain terms. Let me say this. Let me say this. The things that I could do, I could sense things that happen at a location. And to this very day, I can't go to a museum and visit the sculptures of ancient Egypt because I'll pass out. I'll get dizzy because I can feel that as if it's happening now, the life of the ancient Kemetic people. So let me say this. Those things that I did, feeling the energy of the location, having the out of body experience would then translate into me doing astral projection, hypnotizing people. These aspects are not a part of the paranormal. They are not a part of occultism. They are a natural ability that we all have. One of my teachers said it best. He said, Kasank, you and I are cut from the same cloth. There's no difference between the two of us. What I can do, you can do. And I'm saying this because I talk to many of you, and there is so much disinformation on the internet, especially from the Hotep community, where it's all about, I'm going to read a book and regurgitate it, and then I'll seem educated. That's not what spirituality is about. You see, what I was doing is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be astral projecting. You're supposed to be feeling the energy of the locations. You're supposed to be putting people in trance and helping them. This is not a novel thing. You're supposed to be doing. There's nothing that I'm doing that you cannot do. Do you understand? I just was incarnated with the memory of those abilities. But we all have those abilities. I'm nobody special. You have them. Trust me, you do. You're just not using them. And that is what spirituality is about. It's not being good. God doesn't give you points for being good. That's a given. You should be good. God doesn't give you points for knowing the Kemetic prayer. No. You've got to use your abilities. That is what inside of you. Bring it out. Learn to use it. And use it for good. Use it for ma'at. Do you understand? People think, oh, well, you're different. You're overachiever. You're this, you're that. I said, well, maybe, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I don't have some special crystal from Krypton where I can build the Fortress of Solitude and talk to Jarrell. I don't have that. I'm just me. I'm just tapping into my natural ability, and you're not. So start doing it. Now, some people may need a teacher. That's okay. But your teacher is not your crutch. There's going to be a time when you have to leave your teacher and go out there into the world and do this on your own. Do you understand? Stop looking at Jesus as though that he was somebody special. He was not. Turning water into wine. I can do that for you. I can do that. And I'll put you into a hypnotic state, and I'll have you drink a glass of water, and you'll believe it's wine. We did that in priesthood. The entire class did that. There's nothing special. You bring me a child, and you give me 28 days with that child. I'll put that child in a hypnotic state. And I guarantee you, he will ace all of his tests at school. And you'll look at him and say, he's a genius. Everybody has that ability. You've got to just nurture it and cultivate it. Everybody has that ability. and you see these hoteppers stand up there and they talk about the carbon cell and the universe is made of dark matter, and that dark matter is made of subatomic particles, and you think they're so educated and you think they're so deep. No, they're not. They're dumb. They're dumb. They're deaf, dumb, and blind. That's regurgitating information. That's not knowledge on a Tahuti level. You want to show me you got some skills? Build me a pyramid, all right? Build me a pyramid, Hotep. Then we can talk. But unless you can do that, shut up. You understand? So I just want to leave you with that message. Because I'm tired of people thinking that spirituality is reading books and being awake or awoke. That's not it. That's not going to save the world. You being woke will not save anybody. Try to pay a light bill being awoke. Try to save a loved one from a terminally ill disease from being woke and see what that will do. Tune into your God power, and then everything will change. And then you'll see things differently. And you'll know who's real and who isn't real. And you will get past the bullshit. So I want to thank you all for tuning in today. This is Kasak Ma Keparu, son of Maat and Tuti. Maat is a beautiful goddess, Heteru. Until my next podcast, I'm in Ra.